That was today's excitement, brought to you by Nissan. The excitement has been had by the visitors. 30-6 as we begin the second half here in just a moment. Welcoming you back inside the booth. I'm Joe Buck, along with the Hall of Famer Troy Aikman. And it's hard to believe a couple things. That Seattle lost last week at home to St. Louis. You know, they've kind of had their number. And that this is the same Arizona Cardinals team that we saw just dismantle the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I think coming into the game, I think Bruce Arians really wanted to be able to send a message, you know, that they were going to be able to finish and play well against this team that they've struggled with at home in recent years. But we came in talking about Pete Carroll and what he wanted to do, and he wanted to prove that last week was an aberration and that they were as good as they had been playing prior to that loss. And man, they sure showed it here in the first 30 minutes of this game.
Really winning in all three phases. And we get to see the Seattle offense yet again here at the start of the second half. Lockett takes a knee, and we take you down to Aaron Andrews.
Joe, I just spoke with Bruce Arians coming out of the half, and he said with Carolina up 24-3 right now, every starter will return for the Cardinals except for Carson Palmer. I asked him why isn't he taking anyone else out, and he said because nobody is showing me any energy. Nobody came to play, and I'm sending a message like Troy said. I need them to come out and do something. I asked him with his offense what was the thing that bothered him the most, and he said, well, that three guys were open and nobody could catch a ball whatsoever. And I said, when will other guys start to come out? When will you pull out more starters? And he said, when I simply see more energy on the field.
Well, it's interesting with the bye week coming up next week. Meanwhile, a flag at the end.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, kicking team number 59. 15-yard penalty, first down.
So they get Alani Fua, a backup linebacker, a rookie from BYU. It was just a touchback, and there's Fua, who throws a right, and that gets 15 more yards. Thought it was an interesting quote by Bruce Arians with regard to today's game. He said some guys get very stale quickly. And he's been through it before with bye weeks when he was with the Steelers and all their success with Ben Roethlisberger. Carson Palmer's day evidently is finished. But he's the only one at this point. Russell Wilson back out there, handoff to Michael. And Christian Michael throws a forearm and picks up a first down. A stiff arm right into the face at the middle part of a 12-yard run of Justin Bethel. And get out of my way.
Well, we heard Aaron Andrews, you know, give her report after talking to Bruce Arians, and you know, him not happy with the first half, and the guys did not come out to play, and we've seen that type of physical play from Seattle on both sides of the ball, and they've just taken it to them.
Michael bottled up 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
We're rocking now. We're rocking now. We're rocking now.
First half possessions for Seattle. Only a missed field goal by Hauschka. Ended one without points, but they have dominated play so far. Now 2nd and 12.
And this is a Cardinals defense that really is outstanding. They're hard to score points against. They're giving up just 18 points a game, but Seattle hung 30 up there in that first half. So this has been everything that Pete Carroll had hoped it would be coming into this game.
Pass caught by Baldwin, and then he lowers his shoulder to prepare for the hit. The hit delivered by Tony Jefferson, a gain of 7.
It is a tough decision, you know, when you. I think the good thing in Carolina is they knew they had to win in order to maintain home field advantage throughout, which is awfully rare when you've only lost one game that you have to win in week 17. But that becomes a topic of conversation every year as to how you're going to handle it as a coach. And the fact that Carson Palmer is healthy, and he did take some hits in that first half, and he's now on the safe confines of the sidelines, I think makes every Cardinal fan happy.
Pass caught. That's enough for a first down. And a good effort here by Kaufman. You think about where Seattle's been, the guys that they've lost, Marshawn Lynch, who they hope to get back. But they lost his backup, Rawls, and they lost one of the big weapons in the league over the last handful of years, Jimmy Graham, who had 48 catches through 11 games played, just 2 touchdowns. But the offense has gotten better. This is a more dynamic offense after the injuries. Wilson keeps it. They're not protecting him. He protects himself by getting out of bounds.
You know, Joe, the last time we had a Seattle game was when they played against the Dallas Cowboys, and they won that game. I think it was a 13-12 game or something. But the offense had really been struggling. Certainly by the score, you would know that they struggled in that game as well. And it just seemed like there was a bit of a divide at that time. The defense had been playing great. Offense had been struggling. And that had kind of been the story here at various times. And you talk about them losing those players. It came at a time when Russell Wilson really needed to kind of take this team and lead them, and he was able to do that through great performance on the field. And I think it came at the right time and really helped galvanize this football team.
Here's Michael on the handoff, breaks a tackle, picks up a first down. And you can see why they like Christine Michael since getting him back. A gain of 12. And that was going nowhere early.
A couple strong runs now to start this half. He's met in the backfield immediately, but he's able to bounce off of him and finish off this run. Kareem Martin, who stepped in for Marcus Golden, had a shot at him in the backfield for a loss, and just some good tough running there by Christine Michael.
He's got 12 carries, 88 yards, over 7 yards a carry. Now he's got Tukuafu in front of him and tries the right side. Well played. DJ Swearinger, the safety, came up. No gain.
And we also heard Aaron Andrews in that first half talk about Marshawn Lynch and his workout routines. He said he was working out 8 to 10 hours a day. I mean,
yeah.
What does that entail? That's a lot of working out.
It is. Maybe a lunch break, I think. Nice to get some food, hydrate.
Sounds like a pretty strong New Year's resolution to me.
2nd and 10. This one is tipped in the air, incomplete. Lockett, the intended target. Justin Bethel is now on his back, and they're already thinned out a bit in their secondary. Aaron, 8 to 10 hours of a workout day for Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, and he's going to an MMA gym, but that's not the training he's doing. Obviously, it's a lot of core work. I did ask, though, are Skittles allowed during this training? And Tarek told me there's no way he could pry Skittles from Beast Mode's hand. So still allowed in the diet, guys.
3rd down and 10.
Something tells me he's working it off.
Play clock is expiring. Carroll got a timeout. Pete Carroll called the timeout.
Prior to the snap, charge timeout. Seattle, here first. It will be 30 seconds.
It's been a painful season injury-wise for Seattle. Their key injuries, guys that have missed games. Bruce Irvin missed 1. Tukuafu 1. Wagner 1. Wilson now 1. Cam Chancellor 2. Okun 2. Rawls. Chancellor now 2 because of injury, 2 because of that holdout at the beginning of the year. 4 for Graham, 7 for Marshawn Lynch. And Jeremy Lane missed 10. Lane has a pick in this game and has looked really good at the corner spot opposite Richard Sherman, and they are anxious to get their big left tackle Russell Okun back. Pictured there, out for the 2nd straight week with a bad calf.
You know, with all those guys they have lost at various times, the guy that has been there the entire time has been Russell Wilson. That's certainly been a real key to this season.
They're down in 10. Wilson's protected, and now here's Kaufman coming out, makes the catch, and is going to be a yard and a half short of a first down. He was in helping to protect Russell Wilson, then he's able to sneak out and pick up 8. And Russell Wilson now is the first Seattle quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season.
I guess we'll kind of see. We'll see what happens here on the field goal, but we'll also kind of see with Bruce Arians pulling Carson Palmer. Will Pete Carroll do the same with Russell Wilson?
Hauschka 1 for 2. 2 for 3, and that's the most points scored against Arizona this season. 33. See Bruce Stanton when we come back. 33-6. Seattle.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By the all-new Fiat 500X crossover. By Pepsi. Go behind the scenes of the Pepsi Super Bowl 50 halftime show only on Pepsi.com. And by Burger King. Now get 10 chicken nuggets for $1.49 only at BK.
We were talking about the most points allowed by Arizona, the 33 put up by Seattle today. They had 32 in the first game. A 10-play drive ends on the field goal by Hauschka. There's Kerwin Williams on the return. Well played downfield by Seattle. And that's Cassius Marsh making the play. Carson Palmer is finished. The end of a frustrating day for this Cardinals offense on America's Game of the Week. Drew Stanton takes over at quarterback from the 10. He hands off to David Johnson. You think about Carson Palmer in the year that he's put together. I mean, there have been times where this offense for Arizona has looked unstoppable, and it's revolved around Carson Palmer, who will end the regular season with these numbers. And you know, with the perfectionist that he is, he's going to be really frustrated with the way Week 17 went here today.
Well, they got 2 weeks, and you can bet that Bruce Arians will use that to his advantage. It'll make this team a little sharper and give them an edge as they go into this bye week next weekend.
2nd down and 7, and Johnson able to hang on to the ball. It'll bring up a 3rd down. Jay Glazer, meanwhile, there's some flags that fly at the end of the play. We'll bring Jay in just a second. I'm going to get into Jay's wheelhouse here in a sec, but we'll get the call first.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 77, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
That's the 2nd personal foul in the game against Ataba Rubin, and he had Larry Fitzgerald on his back. I can't say I blame him. Well, here's Jay Glazer, and Jay, they call it Black Monday around the NFL with coaching changes on the horizon. And why don't you take us through at least what's on your radar right now?
Well, I think the first one that's going to come up here is the Cleveland Browns. You're already going to see Mike Pettin, who's going to go in and meet in about a half hour here with the owner, Jimmy Haslam, and he's obviously going to be the general manager as well. And you're going to have a lot of teams, I think, that last year we had some shockers. I think the shocker already happened with Chip Kelly earlier this week. And you see some of the names up here. Look, we see, again, Mike Pettin. Chuck Pagano. Guys, the craziest thing is last year, if he'd lost that playoff game, the divisional playoff game, they were considering firing him last year. In this offseason, they offered him a contract extension, 1 year, to be the lowest paid head coach in the NFL. So the writing is on the wall there. Jim Tomsula, I think he's going to be out also after 1 year. And Tom Coughlin, guys, they're not going to fire Tom. That's not going to happen. But when it's time to move on, which I believe ends up happening this week, they'll make sure that they do right by Tom. He'll kind of walk off from the sunset.
We'll stick with Jay here after an incompletion by Stanton brings up 2nd and 10. Here's one pick. That was easy. Earl Thomas slides in front. And the 2nd interception thrown by an Arizona quarterback today. John Brown, the intended target. And they don't get much easier for Earl Thomas, his 5th of the year.
You can see Earl Thomas, he just gets lost back there, and Stanton just does not see him at all. The other receiver in the slot maybe blocked his view a little bit from being able to locate the safety. He tries to fit it on the outside, and Earl Thomas, who reads coverages, he reads splits, he's really a student of the game. He's got great athletic ability and just does an outstanding job of reading the play and then getting the interception.
So we saw the 5 from Jay Glazer, who are on their way out. Dan Campbell, he didn't get a chance to talk about, but How about coaches who are staying? And we'll go back to Jay after this first play from Russell Wilson here from the 33. Handoff is to Bryce Brown. Back to the line of scrimmage. Who's staying, Jay?
Look, you know, Dan Quinn, the Atlanta Falcons, obviously they had a tough end to the season there, but Dan Quinn's going to end up staying. He's going to try and make sure that Thomas Dimitroff stays with him as a general manager. He's going to go to Arthur Blank and try and make that happen. Also, Mike McCoy, there's been a lot of up and down about McCoy. That game's still going on, obviously, with the Denver Broncos. Earlier, it looked like he was gone. Now it doesn't look like it is. We know Dan Campbell, he's out. Jeff Fisher, I think he ends up staying in St. Louis as well. And then Troy, last thing, the Joneses are adamant that Jason Garrett is back, no matter what.
Yeah. Jay, thank you. And why don't we just stay with Dallas? They lost today. They had a 4-win season. They won 1 game at home. But according to Jay, and I think according to you, Jason Garrett is safe with the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, he is. He just signed a new contract. All of the assistant coaches are finishing up their first year on new deals. And hey, tomorrow's Black Monday. It's a tough time in this business. It's a tough profession, as we know. A lot of good coaches lose their jobs. So there's no disgrace in that. Tom Coughlin's the one who I hate to see leave our game. I'm glad that if he does, it'll be on his terms.
They're down 3. Pass caught, first down. Doug Baldwin as the Seahawks are still coming at the Cardinals. First down, Seattle.
And I guess I should clarify that. It's obviously not on his terms. He's a football coach. It's what he'd like to do. But if they're going to make a move and they allow him then to step down on his own, he's not likely then going to go somewhere else and coach. But you know, I think I speak for both of us, Joe. He's one of the guys who we've really enjoyed covering. He's a great football coach, and I don't know that he got a lot of help from that front office, especially here in the last few seasons.
First down, Wilson throws, pass incomplete, looking for Kevin Smith. I think Tom Coughlin, of all the head coaches we deal with, he's a gentleman first. He's in charge of every facet of that organization below the front office. He's a smart, dedicated football man. He was obviously willing to change with the times after coming from Jacksonville and coming in kind of with a heavy hand. Then he had the players committee, and he was willing to listen to players and their concerns. He won 2 Super Bowls there. This season could have been completely different if they could have finished games, but it was a year of fourth-quarter lead mistakes and not able to finish the deal. And had they been able to, that's probably a playoff team with the Giants, and he stays another year.
Yeah, it started that way in week 1, and you know, we had the Giants a few weeks back. I asked him what his hobbies were, that when the time came for him to no longer coach, what exactly would he do? And first thing he said was he's going to spend time with those grandkids that he's got. And I thought it was pretty cool that today at the game, in pregame warm-ups, in what is likely his last game as the head coach of the Giants, his family and his grandkids were all there with him.
3rd down and 7. Wilson spins around, and down he goes. Brought down by Freeney. And he's celebrating another $100,000 in his bank account. Signed in mid-October. And he's to the point in his contract now where he's getting $100,000 a sack. And after having 3 last week, he's got his first today.
Pretty incredible. He was signed in mid-October, and he's leading the team in sacks. Heck, he had 3 sacks last week against Green Bay, and then he rings another one up here today.
Russell Wilson now sacked for the 45th time. That's the most he's been sacked in a single season in the NFL. 52-yard try is good from Hauschka. You going to keep Hauschka on your team now?
Yeah, he was never going anywhere.
Okay, good. 36-6 in the desert.
Today's game is sponsored by Verizon. Better matters.
Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide as we continue here in quarter number 3. A game dominated by the Seahawks. 52-yarder by Hauschka. His second of the game. He is 3 for 4. He has missed from 40. But a 30-point game with under 5 to go in quarter number 3. Russell Wilson has had a huge day. The Seahawks have won this game on offense, defense, and special teams, leading by 30. '40th year of the Seattle Seahawks franchise, and it looks like Russell Wilson will become the first quarterback to win that quarterback rating title around the NFL. This was a matchup with the top 2 rated quarterbacks, and Russell Wilson, if his day is over, and it kind of feels like it should be, 124.2 today, and he came in leading the NFL at 109.3. What a run he has been on over 7 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Since the last time these two teams met 7 weeks ago, Russell Wilson has thrown 24 touchdowns and 1 interception. And the 1 interception was last week against the Rams on 3rd and long, and he essentially just threw a Hail Mary to see what would happen, and it was intercepted. And I mean, those are crazy numbers regardless of who you're talking about.
It's Andre Ellington, who was taken over at running back for David Johnson. He picks up a couple. It'll bring up 3rd down and short. Ellington was the starter at the beginning of the year. They had Chris Johnson, who is on IR, designated to return. He put together a strong season before a knee injury. Really, David Johnson has taken over. And it looks like his day is finished as Ellington is in the backfield next to Drew Stanton.
Yeah, and if Ellington, you know, like you said, if he can stay healthy, he's a real weapon.
3rd down and 2, and the pass is batted down as Bruce Irvin was there to knock it back at Drew Stanton. 3 and out.
Yeah, not real smooth here in this second half, and Bruce Irvin, we've seen him. We saw Averill do it earlier. Now Bruce Irvin, he's able to get a hand on the ball. And, you know, on the one hand, you say, well, you know, maybe Arians just wants to run the ball and shorten this game. But, you know, you also want to get this backup Stanton as many opportunities to throw the football.
Lockett with a fair catch. He's had punt returns of 66, 42, and 31. Russell Wilson's day is not over. Back he goes. Cardinals came into this game having won 9 straight. They are getting thumped here at home. Russell Wilson still in the game, and you expect a lot of this. Quick throws from Russell Wilson. I think you could make a strong argument that it's about time to get him out of the game. Look what he's done over the last 7 as his team leads by 30 here in Glendale, Arizona.
Well, I think Pete Carroll just wants to get this game into the 4th quarter, and I would not disagree with that. You know, when there's still over 15 minutes left to play, a lot of things can happen, even as dominant as Seattle has been in this game. And if they get into the 4th and he's still in, then I would start to question a little bit.
Here is Cooper Helfet, the tight end, with a 1st down. The argument on the other side of that is Carson Palmer's already out of the game, so any crazy comeback by Arizona would have to happen under the control of Drew Stanton, not Carson Palmer. But they're going to protect Russell Wilson with the play calling. Kevin Minter is down on a knee. He'll get attention from the training staff for the Cardinals. 2:23 left in the 3rd quarter. You can watch every NFL playoff game live on your phone with NFL Mobile. Here's what we know. Seattle wins this game. They lead here by 30. If Green Bay wins, Seattle becomes a number 5 seed because the other wild card team is Minnesota. Seattle beat Minnesota, so Seattle moves to a number 5, and they go to the Washington Redskins in the wild card round. That's if Green Bay wins tonight. If Minnesota wins tonight, no matter what transpires here, it'll be Seattle at Minnesota, the number 6 seed against the number 3 seed, because in week 2 Seattle lost on the road at Green Bay. That NFC North is up for grabs tonight at Lambeau Field. And the Green Bay Packers have something to prove at home against their divisional rival.
Yes, sir. Wide 90, wait.
Handoff is to Kristen Michael. Gets a yard. Rodney Gunter on the stop.
Yeah, I think, you know, along those lines, Joe, the Minnesota Vikings, they've got, you know, really something to prove as well. A young team, second-year head coach, and Mike Zimmer, young quarterback. And when they've had big games this year, they have struggled in a number of them, including, you know, when they had a chance to really take control of that division against the Green Bay Packers. So they get a chance to kind of take it to the next level as a young football team tonight.
Here's Michael right side. Minter is back in there, by the way, for Arizona. One of the top 3 leading tacklers on this Cardinals defense. And Michael gets 4 over the right side.
Of course, one of those games, too, that the Vikings struggled in was at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle just dismantled them when they played there. So, as we've talked about, the way that this Seahawks team has played in the second half of the season, they're a dangerous football team heading into the postseason. And I can't imagine, you know, Minnesota, if they were to win tonight, being real excited, knowing that this is who they're going to face.
3rd down and 5. Wilson keeps it and slides down. Dwight Freeney is the guy who made that play happen. He blew it up, and with under a minute to go in the 3rd quarter, we'll see if that is the last on the field sighting of Russell Wilson. A loss of 9.
Good job by Russell Wilson, however, knowing that he was outnumbered and wasn't going anywhere, that he protected himself. I know that made Pete Carroll happy that he didn't take an unnecessary hit.
First punt of the day for John Ryan. Back with a fair catch is young J.J. Nelson. I'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching today's broadcast in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea on AFN, the American Forces Network. Thanks for all you do. We hope you're enjoying today's telecast as we look at the statue dedicated to the late Pat Tillman. And with 12 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, Stanton takes over at the 10. Pass is nearly picked by Sherman as he stepped in front of John Brown. And a flag is going to be thrown for what Sherman did at the end of the play.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 25, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
That's what got the flag. I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Where were you that night, by the way? Thanks for having my back. With me, win or tie. Collinsworth was laughing. 7 seconds left in the quarter. Downfield, and what a throw, but incomplete for John Brown.
Well, that was a really good throw. It was pretty good coverage there by Deshaun Shedd as well.
That's the end of 3. America's Game of the Week. Back after this from your local Fox station in a 30-point game. Second down and 10 for Arizona as we begin the 4th quarter. Russell Wilson outstanding today, 19 of 28, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. No interceptions. Stanton hangs in, but throws incomplete for Darren Fells, who did not have a catch last week and doesn't have one today. 3rd down and 10.
Well, the offense just continues to be out of sync. You'd expect that with Carson Palmer now on the sidelines, but for Drew Stanton, you know, last year he had to come in. He had 8 starts, but you know, not a guy outside of that had had a great deal of playing time. It had been almost 4 years since he had thrown a pass prior to being called upon, but he did some good things, only to be victim to injury himself there at the end of the year.
It's Bobby Massey.
False start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Well, Bruce Arians did say, though, that Drew Stanton on Wednesdays gets a bulk of the work, and that's unusual in the NFL for a backup to really get any first-team reps. But he gets a lot of the work on Wednesdays, and then this week, because of the soreness that Carson Palmer was experiencing in his lat from altering his throwing motion with the dislocated finger suffered a few weeks ago, you know, he got a lot of work this week, but still not the same as getting out there in real time.
And a sack. Bennett was there. Averill was there. It brings up 4th down. And Bennett celebrates with Cliff Averill.
Well, they've just overwhelmed the Cardinals offensive line, really. I mean, they have dominated up front. On the defensive line, they've dominated on the offensive side of the ball with their offensive line, and that's why they're enjoying a 30-point lead.
Now Kevin Smith is back waiting for the punt. Lockett's day returning punts is over. And it hops out of bounds. It is Seattle's day in Glendale, Arizona. They have made a statement on their way to their 10th win, and they are going to be tough to beat this month.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. By Domino's. Order online and track your order. And by Microsoft Surface, the official tablet of the NFL.
That is Fear Farm RC Raceway. And Richard Sherman explaining to Pete Carroll, his head coach, what he did to get that personal foul a moment ago as Tavares Jackson takes over. The regular season is finished for Russell Wilson, and what a season it's been. We bring in Mike Pereira, our rules expert from back in Los Angeles, and as we make our way toward the postseason, we talk, Mike, every year about these all-star crews. Give us more as we head into the first round of the playoffs next week.
Yeah, you know me, I was always a crew guy, and for many years advanced crews intact, but it's not that way anymore. All-star crews, yes, but I think, and I've talked to Dean Blandino about this, he'll take all of these guys that qualify, and he will work to keep them together, actually. So you will at least get crews partially together, not totally, but at least there'll be some familiarity there.
5-yard penalty.
False start here
2nd down.
as Brad Allen goes through it. Yeah, we're talking about officiating crews, and it's never made a ton of sense to Troy and me why you go all year. It's as much a team out there with these officials as it is with the team on offense and the team on defense, and why, when it matters the most, do you break up those teams and guys are looking in different directions, not what they're used to all year.
You're preaching to the choir. I mean, that's what I have felt. You know, I mean, if you take a group of officials who have worked 15 regular season games together and 4 preseason games together, you know your strengths and weaknesses, and it makes perfect sense. But listen, the officials do have a union, and as part of their CBA, they want to get as many officials as possible into the playoffs, so they break up that concept. And I'm still glad that they try to put some together at least, but to me, you advance the best teams and you advance the best crews, and to me, that's always made the most sense.
It's 3rd down and 2. One more question from Mike. As Tavares Jackson, former starter with the Vikings, is in at quarterback. Handoff to Michael. He's a yard short. Real quick, is the league happy with the switch of the extra point moving from a snap at the 2 to a snap at the 15-yard line?
You know they are, Joe. However, everybody needs to recognize this was a one-year rule. It was an experiment. So it expires after the postseason. They'll have to come back and vote it back in. Now, the accuracy rate, the year before this, 99.3%. This year, 94.1%. Looking at the playoffs, though, the teams that are advancing, the 12 teams have missed 27 extra point kicks to this point. And I really kind of enjoyed the little stat I got that said that the last extra point kick missed in the playoffs got to go all the way back to the 2008 season. It was David Akers when the Eagles played these Arizona Cardinals.
Meanwhile, you've got two kickers here, two good kickers who have missed a combined 9 extra points this season, more than were missed all of last season across the NFL. Mike, thanks. We'll see you next week at our game site, wherever that may be.
Looking forward to it, Joe.
All right, good. 4th down and 1 here after a timeout is taken by Seattle. And a punt, second of the day for John Ryan. J.J. Nelson with a fair catch. Thought he waved the arm, did not. Maybe should have. As Cassius Marsh is downfield. And a loss of 2 on the return. So the Cardinals get it down 30. Fourth quarter in a 30-point game. And you look out there and you still see Michael Floyd in the lineup on offense for Arizona. That's Jerron Brown in motion. John Brown is out there. Here is Ellington. And he loses a yard. DeMarcus Dobbs on the stop.
Well, that's the thing, too. I mean, unfortunately for these teams like this, you know, you don't have the college roster, so there's a lot of guys you'd probably like to be able to put over on the sidelines. You just don't have enough bodies to replace them.
Starting offensive line still out there. Second down and 11. Stanton has a man. Floyd dropped one earlier. Michael Floyd with a first down catch as he picks up 16.
Well, we've seen Bruce Arians, you know, despite the score and the way that it's gone, I mean, he's continued to throw the football and get Drew Stanton some work. And as we know, if something happens to any of these teams starting quarterbacks, it's a real struggle. But at least Stanton is getting, you know, some good work in this second half. And who knows, maybe he'll be called upon at some point in the playoffs if something were to happen.
This is Fells. The tight end has his first catch in 2 weeks. Knocked down by Brock Coyle, who is on the IR designated to return, went out in October. This is his 3rd game back. 2nd and 3. Start talking about the year for Russell Wilson. Club record 4,024 yards passing, club record 34 touchdown passes, and he will win that quarterback rating race first time in Seahawks franchise history. 2nd and 3. Pass is dropped by Floyd. He's been on a good run, Michael Floyd, but he's had a couple of drops in this game.
Boy, I'll say coming into this game, in the last 7 games that he had played in, he had 5 100-yard receiving games. So, as I said, the season got off to a slow start with him with the hand injury coming into the year, but he has come on really strong here in the last 7 games he's played.
Marcus Burley has taken over at left corner for Richard Sherman. Deshaun Shedd is at right corner. 3rd and 3. Pass is caught. That's a first down. Catch made by Britton Golden. And with that, here's Kurt with a game break.
Well, Peyton Manning came in to relieve Brock Osweiler and give Denver the lead, but back come the Chargers. Phillip Rivers to undrafted rookie Tyrell Williams out of Western Oregon first NFL catch, an 80-yard score. San Diego regains the lead by 3 in the fourth quarter. Denver, with a win, would be number 1, but if they lose, they could drop all the way down to number 5. Joe?
Kurt, thanks. We know that the Steelers are number 6 because Rex Ryan and his Buffalo Bills at home beat the Jets today. Pass is caught by tight end Nicholas.
How about that? I mean, to go from winning a game and being the number 1 seed to losing and being the number 5.
That's what's out in front of the Broncos, but they are losing to the San Diego Chargers at home. Peyton Manning in the game, 2nd and 2.
Let's go. 52.
Stanton comes underneath to Ellington. And a little run put together here by Bruce Stanton. The early game headlines here in Week 17. Pittsburgh wins, they're in because the Jets lose to the Bills. The Texans win the AFC South. In the meantime, they lose 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle Dwayne Brown. That's a big loss. And without Chip Kelly fired after Week 16, the Eagles put up 35 points and win at the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium, 35-30, I believe, over the Giants in what figures to be Tom Coughlin's finale with New York. Here's Gresham, and now all 3 tight ends on the roster have a catch on this drive.
You know, we talk about some of these coaches and the jobs that some of them have done. I mentioned Andy Reid earlier in this ball game, but how about Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans? They started the year off 1-4, and boy, their quarterback situation was really just all over the map. You know, with Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett, and then Brandon Whedon got picked up. He won a few games for him, but to overcome all those things and win that division, he's done a good job.
But how ironic that the Texans proved that you can have a backup quarterback or 2 or 3 and win a division while the other team in Texas.
I know, I live there.
Can't do anything. Here's Stanton. Out to his right, pass is caught by Gresham. Do you know that Alabama, the Crimson Tide, won more games this year at AT&T Stadium than the Dallas Cowboys? They won 1 game.
Yeah, it's and poor Brandon Whedon. You know, he got run out of Dallas, and a lot of things were said by the owner on his way out, and he, as I said, stepped in Houston and won at Indianapolis for the first time in 12 or 13 years, and I guess he's a little better than they gave him credit for in Dallas.
Stanton, good drive, and now another drop. This time it's Jerron Brown. 6:15 to go.
Well, I'm excited about the postseason. You know, I mean, and I know Arizona is, and I certainly know Seattle is, and both of these teams, playoff teams from a year ago, and it is a long year. It's a long off season. You spoke earlier about the devastating loss in the Super Bowl for the Seahawks, but it was a tough road also for the Cardinals without their quarterbacks, and you go through 16 games to get back into the position in January, and hats off to both of these teams. They did it, and now they're in the dance, and I'm excited to see what happens.
2nd down and 10. Stanton pass is dropped. Gresham. Now 3rd down, and that's 3 drops that I can think of on this drive. This time it's Gresham dropping what could have and would have been a touchdown. They love what Gresham's brought, though, a free agent, former starter in Cincinnati, real good blocking tight end. He has helped their run game.
Yeah, he really has. In fact, he was one of the first guys that Bruce Arians mentioned when I asked him about the improvement of the running game. You know, he talked about the commitment that the staff has made to running the football, but they've got some good blocking tight ends.
3rd down and 10. Stanton pulls it down and gets thumped. Cliff Averill.
Well, it's like blood in the water for these Sharks. I mean, you've got Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett and Bruce Irvin, and these guys are still rushing, and they know the Cardinals are still passing, and they get an opportunity. I don't know what's in these guys' contracts, but if sacks are a part of it for some incentives that they may be able to reach, this is their opportunity, and they're going to take advantage of it.
How about Pete Carroll? I mean, he's hunched over on the sideline, watching every play, hands on his knees, fired up. What a run he's had in Seattle. This one is picked. Deshaun Shedd. Massey is there to make the tackle. But Shedd with another takeaway for the Seahawks defense. What a day for the Seahawks. Shedd with his first of the year.
Today's game is sponsored by Visa Checkout, the easier way to pay online. Sign up now.
From the serenity of the desert landscape to the excitement of the second oldest head coach in the NFL. Nobody runs a sideline like this guy.
No, the coaches are getting him back off the field. That's great. I mean, with this lead, he talks and he's created a culture of competition. And here in a game like this, he's as enthusiastic and as into it as anybody. And it's awesome to see.
It's fun to cover. A 30-point lead. Pass is caught by Kason Williams, who was a star coming out of high school, Skyline High School in Seattle. Went to Washington. Had a knee injury, and now he's just been added to the active roster second week as Deshaun Shedd gets welcomed back to the sideline after the third takeaway for the Seattle defense.
That was a nice play by Deshaun Shedd, and as I said, he was primarily playing safety, and then because of the release of Kerry Williams, they moved him to corner. Pete Carroll says, hey, that's his more natural position. We taught him how to play safety, but you know, we've just seen it over the years. They do a really good job of developing their young secondary players in Seattle.
Handoff is to Bryce Brown. Let's go down to Aaron Andrews. You on the Seattle side, Aaron?
I am. They can't keep anyone on these sidelines. Even though they pulled guys off, they want to go back in with or without their helmets. Let's talk about the Seahawks guys going into the playoffs next weekend. Wild card round. You know, both times they played in the Super Bowl, they had home field advantage. Not the case this year. They don't even know if they're going to get a game at home at all. Talking to some of the guys on the defense about this, loved their comments. Bobby Wagner telling me yesterday, we love the challenge. We want to show everybody we can play either in the snow or the dome. KJ Wright loved this. He said, we're so glad to be going on the road. The defense will finally be able to hear each other. Because, of course, when they're at home, they can't hear anything when the opposing offense is on the field.
Well, you look at the playoff picture, and we'll go through it again. It's tough to really wrap your mind around because it all depends on what happens tonight. But obviously Seattle wins here. You look at the numbers all-time postseason at home, where they have such an advantage now compared to on the road. But again, if Green Bay wins tonight, Seattle is a number 5 seed. They go to Washington. If Minnesota wins, Seattle will head to the Vikings. Penalty flag on the handoff here, and so those are the two matchups here for Seattle, and it's going to be interesting. You know, if they're a number 6 seed, which
illegal
they could
use of the hands to the face, number 95 defense. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run, automatic first down.
There've only been 2 number 6 seeds to win it all. The 05 Steelers and the 2010 Green Bay Packers. They could also very well be a number 5 seed, but it's going to be a march on the road, and they look about as dangerous as any team we've seen this year.
Yeah, and I think what Aaron Andrews said is right. I mean, there's a lot of teams that would say, well, we're okay going on the road and having to go the tough way to get where we want to go, and I don't know that they really buy into it. This Seattle team, I mean, they're built to go on the road and play well and win, and we've seen it. And one of the main reasons is because they're so dominant on the defensive side of the ball. They can take that with them each week. Their offense, yes, their offense has been amazing. They've been really, really good here the last couple of months. But that defense, it travels very well, and who knows, they could be back here in Arizona very easily. And then, of course, if they do win in the wild card round and they end up going to Carolina, that was the game when those two teams met earlier in the season that I think allowed Carolina, along with all of the NFL fans, to realize, hey, this Carolina team, they're for real. You know, they're really good, and Seattle would have a chance to avenge that loss.
Carolina one up there. Seattle would have to go to Charlotte and win there. With 2:02 left, pass is broken up, intended for Chase Kaufman. And it will be 3rd down and 8. The Seahawks, their 4th straight year with double-digit wins. And for the NFC playoff picture, #1 seed reached the Super Bowl in each of the last 2 seasons. That's the Seattle Seahawks. It will be Carolina that will try and make it 3 years in a row. It's 3rd down and 8 here for Tavares Jackson. 32 years old now. 10th year in the league. Just got it away. Pass is caught by Helford out of bounds with 1:58 left and short of the 1st down. 2-minute warning time here in Glendale with Seattle still up by 30. America's Game of the Week continues with 1:57 seconds remaining. 4th down and 5. And the Seahawks will just go for it and then try and run out the clock.
Ready, go. Ready, go.
Not wanting to pile on any more points. The pass is caught. 1st down. And smartly staying in play is Kevin Smith. The Cardinals' only 2 losses to this point were the 2 games they did not have a takeaway. They don't have one here today. Seattle has 3 takeaways. And Bruce Arians is the opposite picture of what's on the other sideline. We've seen Pete Carroll dancing around, and Bruce Arians has been frustrated, hot, red-faced since the beginning of this game, when even his first-string offense really didn't look good. And they were out of sync to begin this game, and now time for Jackson to take a knee.
You know, I'd be real curious too, Joe, as to how Bruce Arians is going to handle it with this team as soon as the game's over. You know, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and when he steps in to that locker room and addresses this football team, knowing that this was the last time they've played before they go on, you know, in that divisional round with the 1st round bye next weekend, and you know, does he dismiss this game and immediately take the high road, or you know, is he, you know, more of a disciplinarian in his approach, or what exactly he has to say with the club?
Seattle ran the ball well today. Christian Michael, 17 carries, a career-high 102 yards, and he had some tough runs and really showed something. And then they hope to get Marshawn Lynch back on Monday and get him rolling in the postseason. But Pete Carroll, who has taken his team to the Super Bowl, taking apart the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 48, coming so close in this stadium last year. They will roll into the postseason as a #5 or #6 seed with a convincing road win by 30 points here in the desert. Oakland's playing at Kansas City. Kevin Burkhardt, John Lynch, Pam Oliver are there. Bonus coverage.